You're listening to Owl This Week on Gippsland FM, and our next guest, we're delighted to join in the studio by Kathryn, who's a student at Moe Life Skills, and Jen, who's one of the support workers there. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, welcome to our show, and why are you here today? What's happening? What's the issue that you want to raise today?
Well, we're having a campaign for road safety at Moe Life Skills for High Street. It's a hazard.
Yep.
One of our fellow students with an accident late last year, and a blind corner at the roundabout coming down, and very busy.
Yeah, someone who lives in Moe, the big roundabout, or as we used to call it, I think, colloquially, the Thunderdome, growing up, which is the big railway. Yes, Moe Life Skills is just on High Street, isn't it? Just around the corner, and it's a very busy street. Be very hard for pedestrians to get across there, isn't it?
Yes.
So is that part of the campaign, is to raise that to get some work done there?
Yeah.
And Jen, how are you going to do that? What's the process, Kath?
A meeting on the 19th. It's a Friday night at 6:30.
And is that a public meeting? Everyone welcome to come along?
No, it's stakeholders.
Stakeholders. So who are some of the stakeholders? Yourselves, obviously?
Ourselves and Latrobe City and the councillors and one of the taxi drivers and
Vic Roads?
I think Vic Roads.
Yep.
And I think we invited the bus lines and ourselves.
Okay, so it's a lot of the community groups and people that are around that area. And as I must declare, I'm actually chairing the meeting for them.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, so I'll be
There's a vested interest here.
That's right, I'll be the moderator.
But a very important issue, as you say.
It is. If someone lives in Moe, it is and a tragedy, obviously, that someone's actually had an accident there. And I know myself, I've tried to walk across there, and it's not an easy thing to get across. There's no lights, there's no... you're trying to get across, and it's a big roundabout, isn't it?
Well, and I have family and friends that live right off High Street, and even in the car, like when you get onto High Street, and if you want to cross with the car, because the people live on the other side, so I have to cross the road, even that can be quite hazardous. I've been in near accidents, people shooting off the roundabout, and I can't get out of the way because there's traffic coming the other way. So it's actually, really, it may need a re-engineering in terms of it met the needs after when it needed then when it was built, but now maybe with increased traffic there and increased demands for the area. So it's really you have to be congratulated for taking on this very good project, Kathryn.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah. Our flyers.
We handed out flyers to houses from Moe Life Skills to Language Street.
Yep.
On Moe Life Skills side, and the other side to get feedback, and only one person gave feedback, and noticed see a parent with children, and she willing to give her time and effort. She couldn't come to this meeting coming up. She willing to write a letter and all that.
And support.
That's great.
And it's become a very busy area. Like, things have changed in Moe since it was built. For example, one of the biggest changes is the secondary school.
Yep.
Moe High School's gone. In fact, it's residential houses there now. So all the traffic to go to Luana, which I think's 1,300 students or something, goes through that way in the roundabout.
Yes, yeah.
Everyone trying to get into town to get to work at the same time. Like, I've made the mistake of I work in Morwell, and I always go via the McDonald's way rather than hit the roundabout at 8:30 when all the school traffic, people trying to get to work. You can be stuck there for a long time. So in a car, it's hard work.
And if
it must be near impossible as a pedestrian.
If you think about it too, Tony, it is almost an arterial road to that
Yes.
other side of Moe now.
Totally.
There's only another way to get to that side of Moe. So,
and that other
hence,
way isn't particular. I have to be
busy.
honest. That other way isn't particularly safe either. That
Across the railway
Yeah,
crossing.
across the railway crossing. I've actually used that because I've gone from St Kieran's Church and then gone that way, and I've actually sat there one afternoon. I sat there for nearly 10 minutes before I could actually change, So if you take that out, that's the only way to connect the two sides of
which is
Moe,
why it's so busy. It's an arterial road, actually. And we have students that attend Moe Life Skills also that are a little bit slower on their feet or have vision impairments, but the students are really committed for the whole community to feel safe. And back to Kathryn's flyers, that information came in from the mother within 5 minutes of putting it in the letterbox. So she was really
quick,
relieved
yeah.
that
somebody
someone
was
going
taking
to
it up.
tackle it. And
Yeah.
it may take us a little while, but we're certainly committed
That's
to
excellent.
making
Yeah.
it, and we want to get the best possible way of crossing it.
So
as
have you got
well.
any preconceived ideas, or is it just that the meeting to open up to find out what's the best solution?
We got some ideas, but I don't know if we're going down the right way. Some ideas is speed humps or signs like reduce
The
The
speed
speed,
limit.
so it's a traffic management sort of style, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, but as you say, you've got a couple of ideas, but the purpose of the meeting is to have other people coming there, like the RTA, like Vic Roads,
And the taxi drivers.
and the
who
taxi
we
drivers who
have
use it all the time.
A lot of taxi drivers bring students and pick
So is
them
that
up.
Kevin that's coming to the meetings?
Kevin,
Yep.
Kevin Coates certainly been more than helpful, and he was instrumental in getting the rest spots in front of the RSL for the people to cross the road there. So I think Kevin's going to be a real asset to
Jen,
us.
do you think it's fair to say, or Kathryn, that Vic Roads and Council thought there was no issue there? It's not something that's really been on the radar, has it? From their perspective, I don't think, Jen, has it?
I don't think
No.
so.
No.
I know I just moved into High Street just before Christmas, and I noticed heaps of traffic, and them just speeding. And I know it might take me 5 minutes to cross High Street, wherever I go.
And see, that's the thing, because, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just trying to visualise it, but I've driven, when I've turned, I've gone onto the roundabout and then I've turned left to get onto High Street, and because it's on a descent, unless you've got... I've got an automatic car. Unless you got your foot on the brake a little bit, you pick up speed and momentum as you go down there. So and there's nothing
You've really
really
gotta be
to do. You really have to be focused and aware of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just whoosh down the and
And
it
you
is
cannot see around that corner.
and you can't see around that corner. And the thing about that is that I used to take that road to go and visit a friend that lived on High Street many years ago, and even then, I have to say, and I'm not making any judgments about Moe because I know it happens in every town, but there were a few hoons who had, muscle cars and whatever, and they really liked that curve, right? Yeah. They really liked that. And so there's
like a
nothing...
bit of a speed trap, because they get up a bit of speed to come up.
Yep.
And then rip around, and it's...
Yes.
You're around the corner and down that side before you really realise it, and then someone crossing... or whatever.
That's right. Then you've got the squealer brakes and you've got whatever.
Essentially, even though it's very close to the CBD, it's a residential street.
Yes.
It is.
Exactly. It's all houses. It's not, So it should be 50 k's there, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's right. But it's actually, I think it's 80, isn't it?
No, not up High Street. Further up is, but...
Further up it's... see, that's the other thing, Further up it's 80, then you come down and it's 60, and... but as you say... If you're coming down, then where you're coming from the 80 zone, you have to slow down, but you're coming down, so your car's actually picking up speed. So there's all kinds of things, psychological things that are going on in a driver's mind, and I think that, you know, it's about time that some thought was put into just what the behaviour is. And there might have to be, you know, some monitoring, you know, some assessment by council, by Vic Roads.
You mean the amount of cars that are using
the amount of
yes,
cars,
often
yeah.
they will be the first port of call, won't it? They'll put...
one of those
counters
counter thing, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we I guess we're prepared for all that, Kathryn, aren't we? Yeah. We're in for the long haul. So.
Oh, that's good. And I'm really pleased to hear Kathryn say that she wants to stick to this. This is an important issue. And it's good to bring in all the stakeholders. It's how did you come up with the list of stakeholders, Kathryn?
By, as a group, thinking who can be a part and who be affected by the road and who can put in to the road kind of thing.
Excellent. And I also have to say I admire the fact that you've just left it to stakeholders, because sometimes when you call for a public meeting, people come along who have different access
agenda.
to a different agenda. But if you've got stakeholders, then at least the people that are coming along are impacted by what you're doing. So that's great.
So that's on the 19th of June. What timeframe do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's going to be long term? Or is it something you want to get into the council planning budget and Vic Roads to say what can we do about this?
I guess at this stage we're doing steps, like planning steps. I guess we'll wait to see what our planning meeting does. I can't see it happening quickly. Like Maria says, maybe the counting process will begin. But I think it's one of these things, Kathryn, don't you think we'll be just plugging away at. And
but you've got to start the journey, don't you?
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
You have to start there. It's a great initiative, and the students at Moe Life Skills should be commended on that, taking up a great community issue.
That's right.
For the region there.
And it is people like yourselves, people who are living in the community, that actually raise awareness of, you know, we were actually talking about the roundabout at the start of the program, and the roundabout has been there for an awful long time, and Tony was saying the catalyst for creating that particular roundabout that he remembers was there was quite a tragic accident there.
When the traffic lights, Jenny, you probably remember that, don't you?
Yeah. And although I live in Morwell, I have lots of family that live in Moe, so we would go to Moe on a fairly regular basis. And I remember the first time that we had to go on the roundabout, and actually when I was thinking about it, I think my father went the wrong way one time on the roundabout, because there was the do lane thing, and he ended up turning right and because he said, no, but I want to go over there. So
I think it still happens now.
Yeah, and I think that you know, it may be, and it's good that you're starting on this journey, but it may be that it's time for a redesign of the entire roundabout. Now, obviously, that's money and time and whatever.
A lot of money.
So it's a lot of money.
It could be bigger than Ben-Hur. But you know, I think that by bringing up the issue and being prepared to stick into the long term, and maybe we'll still be having a chat about this in a couple of years' time, and it might be 5 years down the track. But if
no reason
we don't start now,
that's right.
5 years from now, we'll still have the same problem.
But there's no reason we can't make it safer now too, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Because sometimes we tend to think, it's going to be a big project, we've got to wait for that big project to finish to do anything. You can do something before.
But there are traffic management options,
sure.
like Kathryn was saying, with the speed bumps and with the signage, and there are a few other things that can be done.
The optimum, I would think, would be lights.
Yeah.
That people, when they want to cross, put the lights, press lights, cross over,
and stop the traffic. Yeah. But I think ultimately, whatever the short-term solution is, I think that ultimately it's time to revisit the Thunderdome.
That's it.
And you know, because you know, even in these years, there've been some minor changes. Like I can remember, that little funny little car parky thing in front of that business that's right on the, that didn't used to exist. And when they first created it, I remember there were all kinds of different things.
Oh, near the optometrist there.
Yeah, that's right.
Drive,
Yeah, that's right. So there were a couple of things that they've done kind of over the years. Superficial things.
Stop the right hand.
Yeah, stop the right. Yeah,
well.
all those. Yeah, the right hand to Bennett Street. All those kinds of things. So they've done a few things over the years, but I think it's been fairly artificial. Because obviously it's a big project and it's. But so we're looking. I think this is a really, really great first step.
And I don't think it's been on the radar.
No.
I remember a few years ago there was the big debate, probably 15 years ago, about trying to get another entrance onto the freeway at Fowler Street to ease the pressure off the roundabout. And then I think it was estimated about $300-400 million to do that. And Vic Rose said, well, we can't put an entry onto the freeway there because it's too close to the bend on the freeway.
Yeah.
And so there's all these things that we need to consider. So it's not just a one change. It's got to fit in the whole traffic management.
And that's why it's good to get Vic Rhodes there, because they're the guys. But certainly, even the whole issue, as you were saying about there's only two ways to get across that to connect the two sides of Moe. I mean, Morwell has got the Jane Street Bridge and it's got the McDonald's Bridge right up the top as the two main ways. But then on the other side, further down, you can go on the highway and you can come up through that side road that takes you to Power Works and things like that. So there's a few other options. You're not totally limited to Jane Street Bridge and McDonald, but it is.
Well, Richard touched on this morning the change at Warrigal. I don't know if you've been down to Warrigal recently and seen the Queen Street underpass there. It's obviously very expensive, but it was great, and it's made a big difference. Maybe that's something we need to look at for there.
Yeah, and that wasn't an overnight thing. That took years of planning. So, I think it's great. It's wonderful that a community group like Life Skills has decided to be the lead advocacy group for change for a need that arose from a fellow student of Kathryn's, and then Kathryn and her team decided this is something we need to do. So, excellent.
So we do always, Kathryn, don't we? We look into the papers to see what's happening around. Like Geelong had a lovely new pedestrian area to their station, but they forgot to put a roof on it. Oh. So people, of course, were getting wet, and people that were slower were getting drenched. So that was pressure on, brought about getting a roof on. So we do look at what's happening even in New South Wales. Yeah. At a railway station, there's a chap who goes up the steps on his bottom because there's no lift. At Undira. So, we keep our finger on the pulse, don't we, Kathryn? And we find it's really good to see what people can do to change things in the community. Yeah. What's that expression? Things don't change when good people do. Things don't change when good people stand around and do nothing.
That's right. Stay silent. You've got to be involved. Yeah. Congratulations, Kathryn and Jenny, and your team at Moe Life Skills. I look forward to going to the meeting on the 19th and looking to see how this issue progresses, and we'll
keeping us involved.
We'll keep on top of it and see where things are at, and happy to put pressure where we need to put pressure to get something there. It needs to be safer. Like I said, someone that lives in Moe for a long time and uses that area mainly as a driver, more so than a pedestrian, but
even as a driver,
it's a challenge, and you should be committed for that and getting involved and being an advocacy for the local community. So that's great. Thanks for joining us today, Kathryn and Jen.
Thank you.